So, good morning, everyone, or afternoon, or evening, or night, depending upon where you might be in the world. Um, Welcome to the 2024 Open Simulator Community Conference. I am Joyce Betancourt, co-founder of the nonprofit Avacon. Um, or as many of you know me by my avatar name here, of course, Rhiannon Chat Noir. I wanted to start OSCC off, or our 2024 off, by first some thanks. So thank all of you here, thank everyone here today, and that includes many of our presenters, sponsors, the crowdfunders, volunteers, and especially the developers who work on the OpenSim simulator software. And then a couple of housekeeping things that I wanted to share as well. Um, this is the we are this is the link to the OSCC 2024 schedule, and we're also live streaming all the presentations in the next 2 days. So you can go to the schedule, see what's coming up, watch it in World, share the stream with others who might not be able to get in World. You're also obviously can pop the stream into your grids if you're wanted to bring it back to the hypergrid wherever you are. So this is our 12th year at the Open Simulator Community Conference, and we're delighted to open with our Open Simulator Core Developer Spotlight. It's certainly our tradition and a great way to highlight again, like those folks that without them there isn't where we're even standing virtually here today. So, and Open Simulator. So. We're celebrating, or Open Simulator itself is celebrating 18 years and the first software commit was on January 31st, 2007. And I'm going to pop again another text in here. So many developers worked on OpenSimulator, which, and this is for many of you know anyway, but is an open source, multi-platform, multi-user 3D application server software that is running this conference grid and behind the hundreds of public grids and many private virtual grid environments. More than any of us kind of really know on the private side of things. So, and I also wanted to share this visualization that we and thank you, Marcus Llewellyn, who puts these together for us. This visualization of the GitHub commits for the code repository of OpenSimulator, and this is this particular year of development, and you can watch the video in the background, certainly as we're kind of introducing things here. And it's great to notice how many people devoted an amazing amount of work into the Open Simulator software. And I'll put it here in chat too, just in case you're not going to go out to the video. But through the years, and this the entirety of the project, the Open Simulator has had 185 contributors who've maintained 443,962 lines of code and invested over 119 years of human effort. And so it's a lot of work and a lot of time spent. And we are very thankful for all that time spent and for the core developers. I also want to introduce my OSCC conference co-chair, who's Lear Lobo, Cynthia Cologne, as many of you know her virtually, or actually in real life. And she is moderating our core developer spotlight today. So with that, I will turn it over to you, Lear, who will introduce the core and go from there. Thanks.
Thank you, Joyce, for that warm welcome. And hello. Isn't it exciting to have our 12th OSCC? I would like to introduce, let's see, I'm delighted to introduce our core developers who are joining us for our OSCC 2024 opening session. First off, Yubit Umarov, Open Simulator Core Developer. Yubit is currently a lead core developer for Open Simulator, and he started on the project in 2012. He is instrumental in coding and implementing the Open Simulator codebase, many of the updates that were part of 0.9 through 0.9.3.0 of Open Simulator, and he works on resolving issues and developing the upcoming releases. Kevin Cousins, Andrew Hellershanks, is an OpenSimulator Core developer. Kevin has been a member of the OpenSimulator Core developer team since March of 2014, and he created and maintains several add-on modules, including the OpenSim Search and OpenSim Profile modules, which are used within the OpenSimulator project. Mr. Blue Waves, Robert Adams has been an OpenSimulator core developer for many years. His OpenSimulator work includes the BulletSim physics engine, the DSG distributed scene graph simulator experiment, and many performance improvements. Other OpenSimulator projects include the Dockerizing of OpenSimulator, the experimental Bazel web browser viewer, and code addition to several of the independent viewer projects. Unable to be with us today is Melanie Milan. We're hoping she can join us in progress, OpenSimulator Core Developer. Melanie has been an active contributor to Virtual World software in OpenSimulator. She coordinated Virtual World projects, including creating, with a team of up to 12 developers, her own spin of the We the OpenSimulator software, which powered the Avanation grid. Many of the grid's code, when shared back to the core code, was the base for many of the OpenSimulator 0.9 features. Please check out the website found at conference.opensimulator.org for speaker bios, details of the sessions, and the full schedule of events. The session is being live streamed and recorded, so if you have questions or comments during the session, you may send tweets to @OpenSimCC with the hashtag #OSCC24. Welcome, everyone. Let's begin the session. Now, if anyone has a question in the audience for our core developers, please put it in the local chat and I will keep an eye out for it. If you'd start it with the word question, that would help me out. For our first question, Yubit, tell us some highlights from your work this year to develop and maintain OpenSimulator.
Oh, hello. Thank you. Thank you to all that make this conference possible. It's always a pleasure to be here and very stimulating. About the boring technical news about OpenSim, we did release a new version about a month ago. And its main highlight is that it's running in a more recent .NET version 8.0. And, well, just input change to make it possible and to integrate it with the changes of .NET. And also its main feature, like you can see in the release notes that I just pasted in the channel, its main features is the support for the new PBR materials that some viewers now have. That's pretty much the short version of what happened.
Well, you make it sound easy, but I was watching you throughout the year. I had the fortune to attend the core developer meetings, and that migration from .NET 6 to .NET 8, was that easy to do?
Well, actually, it was from Mono and .NET 4.x, the version, the .NET 6 was an intermediate version. It was relatively easy to move from 6 to 8. No, it had some problems because the change to .NET from the old framework and the Mono was a very breaking change. We lost several features that we depend on that made us, for example, remove the X engine, script engine that we are using. That was sad because it was some scripts did depend on it. But I engine is a little better, and with minor change and minor fix, it should run, well, even those old scripts. Well, it was a nice road to walk.
Well, what is your recommendation for folks who have a lot of scripts written in Xengine? Should they continue running the older version, or because I know compatibility issues are always the challenge in software?
Well, most will just run with no problems. Others you'll just need to edit and fix case by case. But we have not many reports of problems. usually the problem that we see is that X-Engine was a lot more tolerant to some, let's say, creative programming, and then iEngine is, I mean, that you could do things that were not strict LSL, and X-Engine did accept it, and iEngine complained, no, I do not like that. That's not a vector. Okay, yeah.
Right. You know, many people have been following the advances in PBR and other, improvements to the software. And I know at LBSA they had a demonstration of PBR on those test grids. How is that going? Was it easy to develop PBR into the core code?
Yeah, you know that the hard part is your side, and sadly that did not went that well. By the way, you need to thank to all the work, the teams, several viewer teams that support OpenSimulator, like Firestorm, day1, CoolVR, and a few more, because without them it will not be possible. I'll be able to say, yes, there are two little objects that do demonstrate the PBR features. I don't know, shining things. That's things are a bit more shining. And a little bit, I think it's still there, a little inside a little toilet, you can also find a mirror. That is also a new feature that some viewers have. Sadly, it's very high demanding on the GPU and CPU, but it's still there. You can active it's now, I think it's disabled by default on all the viewers, but you can enable, and you can see your own avatar on the mirror. Yeah, that's a feature. And in LBSA, if you look around, I think there is still a little toilet, and inside of it there is a mirror where you can shake your face, etc.
Now, when
Yeah.
you say it's disabled on the viewers, what does that mean for folks who might be a little bit newer to Open Simulator?
It's just the options when you install the viewers. There is a set of options that the viewer are enabled by default, and because mirrors are still very heavy, and not only most hardware that just does not support them that well, they decided to disable it by default. So
Okay,
for us to actually see mirrors working, we need to go to the avatar preferences, and depending on the viewer, and activate mirrors. Okay,
that's good to
I
know.
think it's some feature that is still for the future, because, as I said, the change that the viewers had to support PBR were introduced a lot of overload to the CPU and to the GPU. Even to be here in this conference, that we don't have PBR. If we use the new version, you will see that your GPU is getting hotter, and your CPU is your electric bill is a bit higher if you use the most recent versions. But well, it's the price of progress, they say.
Well, I was reading Lisa's question, and I don't know if you were answering part of it there because I heard what you were saying. Did you see? She said, "I found some scripts written in Y engine. You're calling it E engine. Pardon
My,
my
yeah, why? Yeah,
multicultural
that's it.
language."
Yeah, yeah. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
my English is
Yeah.
pretty
No,
bad.
no, you're
I'm
great.
sorry
You're
about that.
great. So in Y engine do not work in X engine, but when fixing them in X engine, they also work in Y engine in the newer. Some newer functions are not supported in X engine. In some cases, there are second life functions that still not supported in Open Simulator. Do we have a time frame for when that work will be completed? Lisa, we may need to know a little more specifics on which
Well,
features you're thinking of.
if you see we keep adding some selected LS functions from Second Life. We don't know, will not uh, just follow Second Life in most cases, because we can't. But if you see in the release notes, we did add some new functions that, like, for example, finally I did decide to support the link set data that I was not very happy with it, but it's there. It's also included now in 0. In the last release. So yes, and if you see, we have the linear to RGB, RGB to linear, LSL sorted straight. You see the list. We just did add several. We did add several functions from LSL. About the compatibility issues between N and 12, they have a little bit different interpretations about what is the semantics and the syntax of LSL. As I said, X-Engine was a lot more tolerant to several mistakes. iEngine is not that tolerant, and for example, it does not allow several implicit casts that X-Engine did accept. I don't know. I don't really remember them because we did remove X-Engine. I don't know, about 1 year ago or something like that. That we don't use it at OS Grid and in the grids that are now using the new version. But yes, it's always possible to have some issues like that. License support is not appropriate. List.
Let's see, a follow-on
Well,
question there is there a resource list?
yeah. Well,
Okay.
Mantis is our
Mantis.
Mantis. That is always our the place to put requests and even to submit code to us. And of course, there are our meetings every Tuesdays, every week, and yeah, the usual channels.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to ask Andrew, what is the protocol for guests to attend the core dev meetings and to bring up topics about installation issues, script issues, or new features that they'd like to see in the core?
Yeah, good morning, everyone, and nice to see everyone here. First of all, just back on what Ubit was or the question that came up relating to what script functions and so on are available. If you go into the wiki, I believe it is on the OpenSimulator.org website, there is a list of LSL and or LL and OS functions that are supported, and it tries to give you an idea as to how well they're supported. Some functions may not maybe be 100% the same as Second Life, but it's a good place to find out what functions are available. And I guess we try and keep that list up to date. I'm not sure if it is 100% up to date at the moment with some of the most recent functions, but yeah, if you're doing scripting, that would be a good place to take a look at where things stand on the scripting side.
Thank you.
Right. So for meetings, yes, we have the meetings Tuesdays. Lately, we normally run them on OS Grid, but lately OS Grid's been having some issues, so we've had to move to an alternate location. Probably your best bet is to take a look at the, again, OpenSimulator.org website. If we've had to move to an alternate location, that would be the place to go to find out where we are at the moment. Again, unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to fully prepare for the meeting. We have one person who attends the meetings named Vincent. He's been very helpful in keeping recording the log and posting the log of the actual meetings. All the meetings are, we have usually at our normal location, we have a box that records the chat so that the chat can then be posted online, as well as also there's a web page that you can access the content of the meetings. But anybody's welcome. You don't have to be a software developer. You don't have to even be running your own grid. If you're just an end user, you can come in and attend the meetings, see what we're discussing. We do have a small kind of core group of people that show up on a regular basis. But yeah, usually if you have any particular question, then you can instant message me, and I'll try and make sure that you get a chance to have your question or topic or comment, whatever, raised at the meeting. I do try and limit the chat to just to one topic at a time. Sometimes we get a second topic sometimes started, but If necessary, I'll ask somebody to hold off on something, but it does take a while sometimes for kind of to get things going. We don't always start right at the top of the hour because sometimes we have to wait for a few people to show up.
And speaking of that, you have a wide mix of folks who come, both Mac users and Windows users and Linux users, and of course, you have viewer developers as well. That's just wonderful to see this blend of skill base. Please realize to the folks listening and all these folks are volunteers on the project, and they appreciate your support and donations to help them keep strong the world we love. Well, Mr. Blue, and pardon me, Andrew, if you had anything to add at the end, I'm going to ask everyone if you had any other contributions that you wanted to feature during our recording. And please realize we will have a VIP Q&A over the meal break. So, Mr. Blue, while I have my suspicions on this answer, what cool projects are you working on these days?
Well, the only cool project I've been working on has been a WebRTC-based voice for OpenSimulator, since Vivox is going away for us. And I'm giving a presentation of that in about an hour. And that's the main thing I've been working on.
Well, thank you. So Roxy adds a question from the Virtual Education Journal. Do you announce the topics of the meetings and agendas before the meeting? Andrew, would you like to take that one?
Oops.
And if you're speaking, you're muted.
No, I can answer that.
Yeah,
No,
sorry.
Okay, great. That's
the
okay.
meetings have an open agenda. We usually do some revision of what happened during the last week, and then we take we answer. The meeting goes as people give us issues, and we discuss things that people bring to the meeting. But we don't have an agenda per meeting now. It's open.
Great,
Yeah,
thank you.
That's right. It's driven by the people attending and what they want to talk about. And I will prompt people at times. As you say, we have one of the people that's working on a viewer, so occasionally I will prompt them to, give them an opportunity to say if there's anything new that they want to discuss or talk about or mention relating to their viewer development. After Mr. Blue's there, I will sometimes ask him if there's anything he wants to say about his development in the physics engines and so on. So, and I also do ask people at times to make sure that if anybody does have a question or comment, I try and make sure that they have time to get those in. Certain topics sometimes will take quite a while to be discussed, and so usually about 10-15 minutes before the top of the hour, I will kind of try and put a hold on the current topic of discussion to try and make sure that anybody who needs to ask something or wants to make a comment has the opportunity to do so, because some people can't stay past the top of the hour.
Sure. The question on everyone's mind, of course, is when is Vivox leaving? And this is a tricky one. I think I know the answer, but who would like to answer that question? The reason I know the answer is I've been attending the meetings. For those of you who may be new to it, you please realize Vivox may not be available for new grids coming online, so they can't access it, but the existing grids still have access to Vivox, to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah,
Anyone?
I think
Go
we
ahead.
have just no idea when that is going to happen. But thanks Second Life is going to also stop using Vivox. There may be a correlation there, but we have no official statement. Vivox just announced that they will be stopping support. They will not accept any new contracts. So like you said, it's only working for those that already have it working. And we have no no prediction of when it will happen. So my guess is just there may be, because Second Life is using exactly the same version that we are using, that is also very obsolete. Vivox is now using version 5, if not version 6, and this is still version 4. So I guess when Linden Labs turns off their systems, so possible, then that will be the deadline for us also. Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you. I mean, not good in the
No,
sense that
it's
we're
not
happy,
good.
not at
No,
all.
it's not good.
Yeah, a little emotion here. Oh. But we're looking forward to change and growth, right? That's one of the requirements. So before we conclude with our core dev panel, do each of you want to just give one thought on the future? What would you like to see possible for the future of OpenSimulator? I know the future is always a tricky question, right? Because it has so many dependencies. I know the users have quite a few
Just answering
ideas.
to
Yeah,
the question from
sure.
Mo. Well, Firestorm told us that as long as we have Vivox servers, they will keep the code for us, even if Linden Labs remove the code from their own viewers. So some of viewers for OpenSim will keep supporting Vivox as long as we have a Vivox solution. Okay, and WebRTC for Second Life does support 3D positional code, yes it does. For OpenSim, well, I think current implementation that Robert is working on still does not support it, so because that is extra code that is closed source for the Linden Lab solution. That's okay, they're right, of course. So let's see if we'll be able to support it. It's just some extra code. Okay. Maybe Robert wants to talk about that, and I'm sure he will address that during his presentation.
I do want to break in, Lear, that we do not have to wrap now. We actually have more
Oh,
time
sure.
because of the setup.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
So ask
Just checking.
questions.
Absolutely. Well, so Mr. Blue, that I think that question's for you. It's from Jack Daniels, and he says, "Will the web RTC audio be positional like Vivox is?"
At the first implementation that I have running now is not spatial, but that's work that can be done.
Thank you. Okay. And let's see, are there any other questions on that order?
There was a question about the GLTF, blah, blah, blah from AI. I don't know. We still see nothing from that conclusive from the viewers. So I actually don't like that solution that Linden Labs is trying to do. I think it's overcomplicate everything. I'm not that fan of GLTF and how they are adding it to the viewers. But that's something we need to wait and see. For now, it's premature. For now, we'd like to have viewers that actually work with PBR without taking all the power bill as high as they are taking currently. And yeah.
Well, do you think the reason for using that standard is perhaps compatibility with other marketplaces? I notice everywhere I go looking for 3D models and mesh for our designs.
GLTF is basically an update of Collada. It's
That's
just
it.
another transfer protocol. Sadly, while when Linden Labs start using Collada they use it as a transport, so you can import Collada into the viewers. Like in theory, you could import FBX, and all of that was converted into an internal format that was very optimized, very optimized for just for the needs of our needs for mesh, simplified mesh, etc. This time they are using almost replacing everything. The last time I saw, well, PBR is the PBR access format started to be GLTF, and one of the formats is when you upload is GLTF. Then they found out that GLTF was actually too heavy, and so they had another format, and we need to work with two different serialization formats for that. And GLTF, what I've seen they are doing, they are all basically replacing everything with GLTF. So you have a prim, and then instead of telling that prim that it has a mesh, you tell that prim it has a GLTF data, and then that prim will also render whatever comes after that. That is basically a duplication of everything we already have. It may have animations in their own format, may have meshes in their own format, etc., etc., etc. So, well, as I said, we need to wait and see. Okay.
Yeah. Well, that raises the question, what are the implications for designers, right? Their current content will continue to work in the future. Is that true? Anything they've already uploaded should still
Well,
render just fine, right?
at least I can speak for OpenSim. We'll do our best, and we'll not accept and we will not follow Second Life if there is a big breaking change like that. That's also us, because we are no longer, if you ever been a clone of Second Life, okay? We follow Second Life when it is possible, when it makes sense. We'll not follow them when it does not make much sense, okay?
Yeah.
Right.
I
For
mean,
example, the support the PBR for terrain, we are not following exactly what they do. Viewers need to have specially code a little. It's just a little one line or two of code to work with OpenSim, because the way that they made, they just completely ignore all the viewers. Okay, if you have old viewer and you go to a land that is PBR terrain, we just see everything white or gray. Okay, that will not happen in OpenSim. You can select, in OpenSim, you are able to define the textures for older viewers and for new viewers. Okay, so you can see something that makes sense and not just a white desert. Okay, so but that's a change. We are not a clone of Second Life. We will not take every code they do and all the features they do. Okay. Sorry.
No, that's good though. No. And I did notice you did support features that the viewer did offer from Second Life, like hovering over textures in the inventory. I know there was quite a bit of debate in the core dev meetings about that feature, but that was something that users wanted, and you were good and gave that feature to us. So we want to thank you for it. And that's what I love about the core dev meeting. So if you're not attending, I do recommend that you look at the logs, because there's some wonderful work going on there. And we want to thank everyone who comes to the meeting, because you really generate a lot of great information, requests, and of course, support. Okay, let's see. Are there any other questions? Looking out at the, I see there was a good question by Rain, Lisa says. So Rain's asking about SSL support, something about hypergrid
Well,
SL. Yes.
actually, Randy did some contributions to SSL support, yes, that we didn't incorporate it. SSL has been working for some time. You can full run a region in SSL, and even you can run several parts of the grid code, but still need more work to be easy to actually use. Assuming that it's easy for you to buy a certificate and to keep a certificate, okay? That's always a problem, because if standalones don't buy SSL certificates, you know. Mm.
And for those of you who are wondering what we're talking about secure
Yeah, that's it.
security and
SSL.
secure sockets. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What were you going to say, you bet?
No, I was about finished. Yes, we do have code in line that does support, and I said that you can run a region with everything in SSL except UDP. Of course, UDP does not do SSL, but all the HTTP communications can be encrypted. Okay. Yep.
Now, Webb's adding there are 6 free certification providers around.
Yeah, but some of them have limits because, for example, let's encrypt. You need to own the DNS. You need to own to have a registered domain, and you need to own it. There are restrictions for the free because it's a nice business. People like to make money with selling certificates.
Yeah, some of
Absolutely.
those, a few of those free providers of certificates also, they have very short time periods. I think I was looking at one of the free encrypt sites for my website, and the certificate I think expired in only like 2 or 3 months. So unless you're paying for it, you'd have to be renewing a certificate fairly often.
And that can be disruptive to access to your grid. So something to think about. Any other questions from our audience? Well, while they're formulating their last questions, I want to thank our core developers for your amazing work and for volunteering, for supporting, for attending every week. Wow. And Mr. Blue, we see you at those meetings too. And thank you for your support and work with Kuga. And we want to thank Jaga and of course, Gavin and Joe, all the viewer developers, everyone who comes to the meetings, Kayaker. Let's see, Gudul Lapointe adds, Lear, not necessarily, as long as you have your own subdomain, and this is back on the SSL topic for the secure certificates assigned, you don't need to have control on the main domain. Well, that's good to know. And Gudul has a session coming up next that'll be talking about integrating OpenSimulator with WordPress. So, so we may have more questions on that, Gadul. Thanks. And thank you. Graham Mills adds, great work, all. So any last thoughts before we close the panel?
Back when we were talking about functions that were being supported, I noticed that Lear had popped up. I think one of the comments that came from, I guess, from the audience about, I think it was link set data. That's a topic that's been a little bit questionable. I think that may be a function that we're not overly enthusiastic about the implementation of that in Second Life. We feel that's a bit on the flawed side. So there are times where, again, that's where we may or may not implement that in Second Life, depending on whether we feel it is beneficial to the community and whether it's whether the implementation really kind of truly makes sense in the way the Second Life people have chosen to implement it.
Well, thank you for that. So there'll be more discussion of that at the core dev meetings, I'm sure. Well, thank you to our wonderful core developers, and of course, I don't know if you've been following the chat, but there were a lot of wonderful thoughts and of course, a lot of love coming your way. We are deeply appreciative. Yes.
Just a little note. I actually gave up. I did implement a one version of Linkset data that should be pretty much compatible with the SCL, LSL. Okay, because it's what's needed and people wanted it. So yeah, I did add it. It's included in the 093.
Thank you very much. So I added that note to the chat, and Art Blue adds that Philip Rosedale said he was not super happy that PBR was installed in such a rush, not properly tested. So great applause for the great work from our core developers. Thank you for that, Frank. And On that note, I want to thank Ubit, Andrew, and Mr. Blue for a great opening to OSCC 2024. You are our rock stars. Before we conclude our opening session, we would like to remember our OSCC organizers and speakers we have lost in recent years. We would like to create a memorial site here at OSCC to remember our community members that we lost. Their legacy continues and they remain in our hearts. A few months ago, we lost OliveTree Lighthouse, our dear friend who moderated speaker sessions and supported the speaker booths on the OSCC Expo Zone 3. She loved virtual worlds and the OpenSimulator community. We lost Lori Von Luster, affectionately known as LV, when she passed away in February of 2024. She was an organizer and presenter for VWBPE and for OSCC, and a staunch social media advocate. She supported virtual worlds for over 17 years. Losing Veritas McMaster, our OSCC conference speaker, so soon after the OSCC 2023 holiday party was a shock, and we were thankful to attend the memorial service hosted at Alternate Metaverse, the grid that she loved. And we lost Dancers Yao, who presented at past OSCCs, and she hosted a region in 2015 for the Learning Lab at OSCC. It was a tribal event known as the Galaxy Language. She passed away in 2024. And we lost Barbara Truman, aka Delightful Duangle, in 2021, who was a champion for virtual worlds education and for strengthening our community. She moderated, hosted speaker sessions, and designed the speaker booth map for the OSCC Expo Zone 3. She was the community leader of the Moses Project, which conducted research on increasing region scalability and photogrammetry for avatar realism. To honor those we have lost, we are setting up, and we don't have it set up yet, but it's in the plans, for a memorial site and a candle lighting ceremony so that you, for the folks you may have loved, and lost, can light a candle in memory for them. We're still designing it, and so we'd love to solicit feedback from the community, and if you could direct it to Franz or to Joyce or myself, we're deeply appreciative. And the reason we're doing this is we realize that none of us are getting any younger. We've been at this for a long time, right? And this is our 12th year, and we're hoping we have another 30, but you know how it is. So thank you very much for all your loving support and for making such a great community. Joyce, back to you for a moment. Do you have anything to add there?
I just just thank you, Lear, for bringing that all up. It's certainly been, especially as we're planning, right? These things every year. There are some folks, certainly OliveTree and Barbara, who were part of this process, sort of year in and year out. Once they started helping, and it's kind of this sad scenario when you kind of come to the beginnings of the year, and even things as like setting up all our little voice calls that behind the scenes where we have to bring in all the speakers to stream them in world, like how much OliveTree as a moderator was like in so many of those prior ones. So certainly, we kind of feel all that loss, and just reach out. I also sent the email, OSCC organizers at avacon.org. You can email, and that goes to all of us on that side of things. Thank you, Lear, for all of that, and of course, in the regards to those lost, in regards to Open Simulator as a whole, there are obviously so many other users, and folks behind the scenes that have been lost over time. So this is just a small list of those who've kind of been more part of the conference piece of things. But yeah, thank you for that. I'll turn it back over to you to kind of go, do the kind of next up things, but.
Thank
Leah.
you. Well, as a reminder to our audience, you will want to check out the conference.opensimulator.org to see what is coming up on the conference schedule. You won't want to miss our next session, which will begin at 8 o'clock a.m. in this keynote region, and it's entitled WordPress Interface for OpenSimulator W4OS. Also, we encourage you to visit the OSCC24 Poster Expo in the OSCC Expo 3 region to find accompanying information on the presentations and to explore the hypergrid resources in OSCC Expo 2 region, along with the sponsor and crowdfunder booths located throughout all of our OSCC Expo regions. Thank you again to our core developers and to you, the audience.